Ghostface is back in theaters and horror fans won't have to wait until October for their scares. In fact, 2026 is shaping up to be a year-round fright fest at the movies. The year has already delivered another chapter in the 28 Years Later saga, along with strong box office showings for Sam Raimi's survival gore thriller, Send Help, and the indie video game adaptation, Iron Lung. And even though February is usually known for romantic comedies, this month brings a Friday the 13th and a packed slate of chillers. Leading the charge is the 7th installment of the Scream franchise. Neve Campbell returns as ultimate final girl Sidney Prescott, now living a quiet life in Indiana, until Ghostface resurfaces and targets her teenage daughter. The film marks the first in the series directed by original writer Kevin Williamson. Also making noise is Psycho Killer, introducing a new masked maniac to the big screen. And that's just the beginning. A Ready or Not sequel arrives in March, followed by a new scary movie in June. Later this year, audiences can expect a revamped Resident Evil, Jessica Chastain's supernatural thriller Other Mommy, and Robert Eggers' werewolf tale Werewolf, set to howl into theaters on Christmas Day. Among the early standouts is a sci-fi horror comedy featuring Joe Keery and Georgina Campbell as employees at a self-storage facility built on a former military base. When a parasitic fungus escapes and begins controlling minds and bursting organs, the pair teams up with an aging bioterror operative played by Liam Neeson to contain the chaos. Game of Thrones alums Sophie Turner and Kit Harington reunite in a medieval Gothic drama. Turner plays a woman grieving her husband's death in war, who reconnects with a man from her past while facing tension from her domineering mother-in-law, all as a mysterious cursed night stalks the countryside. Georgina Campbell also stars as a Kansas Highway Patrol officer seeking revenge after her husband is murdered by a serial killer known as the Satanic Slasher. Her investigation uncovers disturbing truths that suggest something even more sinister at play. Based on Courtney Summers' young adult novel, an undead twist on The Breakfast Club follows a group of high school students, led by Olivia Holt, who barricade themselves inside their school when a zombie apocalypse erupts in their hometown. Maggie Gyllenhaal offers a bold reimagining of The Bride of Frankenstein, set in the 1930s. Christian Bale plays Frank, who longs for a companion. Jessie Buckley stars as his resurrected bride, who seeks her own identity as the two embark on a strange and violent crime spree. In a psychological chiller, Nina Kiri portrays the skeptical host of a paranormal podcast who receives eerie recordings from a pregnant couple plagued by strange noises. As she cares for her dying mother, the tapes begin to affect her in deeply personal and terrifying ways. Lily Reinhart leads a horror comedy about a mall employee who runs a witchy, all-female cult from the basement of her store. When a new recruit joins their ranks, the group quickly realizes they may have invited something far more dangerous than they anticipated. The Ready or Not sequel revisits Samara Weaving's Grace, who survived a deadly ritual at the hands of her in-laws. Now, she and her sister are hunted by powerful elites in a deadly game for control. Body horror returns from Raw director Julia Ducournau in an allegorical tale about a blood-borne disease that turns victims into marble. Golshifteh Farahani stars as a doctor who fears her teenage daughter may have contracted the illness. Zazie Beetz headlines an action horror comedy as a housekeeper who discovers her Manhattan high-rise is a satanic temple, and she's the intended sacrifice. Unfortunately for the cult, she's more than capable of fighting back. A reimagining of a 1978 horror classic follows a content moderator, played by Barbie Ferreira, who stumbles upon what appear to be recreations of real-life murders from the original film, blurring the line between fiction and reality. Director Lee Cronin delivers a new take on a classic monster story, centering on a young girl who disappears in the desert and mysteriously returns 8 years later. Not quite the same. In the supernatural thriller Hokum, Adam Scott plays a novelist who travels to a remote Irish inn to scatter his parents' ashes, only to encounter legends of an ancient witch haunting the honeymoon suite. And in Obsession, a twisted monkey's paw tale unfolds when a young man uses a magical trinket to make his crush love him. The wish is granted, but with horrifying consequences as affection turns into dangerous fixation. From masked slashers and cursed nights to zombies, witches and demons, 2026 promises no shortage of screams on the big screen.